It's crazy. It's like all of these characters are like really big brain characters. So you got something 4 or 5 steps ahead, drop it easy.
What is going on, everybody? This is Sai from Pushblock Gaming coming at you with another video, this time just focusing on some tips and tricks for playing Snake. Now, previously someone left a comment asking for a Snake tutorial, and I've had a few different people ask me how to play this character. Since she's such a bizarre character, I figured it'd be simpler to just throw out some suggestions. Now, later down the line in Season 2 of the analysis vid, I'll be working with Wood on a full and complete breakdown for Snake, but this is just more to get you acclimated to playing him. So I'm going to break this down into a few different sections. We're going to talk about his neutral, his disadvantage, advantage, and ledge trapping. And with that in mind, let us go ahead and just get started. When it comes to neutral games, Snake is nearly unparalleled. Lots of characters have a pretty even balance on where they shine between their neutral, advantage, and disadvantage. But to be honest, Snake is very different from the rest of the cast, not only in Ultimate, but in Smash period. There's a seemingly endless myriad of options to choose from at any given time, so it's hard to map out a direct flowchart like certain other characters.
Go stupid! Go crazy! Go stupid!
So here's some general tips, and also tips on keeping yourself protected. First of all, stay grounded. Yes, you have access to some cool options mid-air, but your main focus should be pestering your opponent from a grounded position. You've got a very versatile kit packed full of explosives, and you've also got some of the best tilts in the game. Even your smash attacks, as unconventional as they are still pretty great. But none of this comes into play mid-air. In fact, the sky is where you're going to take most of your damage once your opponent breaks through your wall. Snake's aerials are all pretty decent, but they're very big commitments, with the exceptions of Nair and Dare. I'll get to those a little later, especially down air because that move is low-key broken, but for now let's just focus on keeping your feet on the ground. And on the subject of staying on the ground comes tip 2, crouch. Snake's crouch gets really low to the ground. You should test this out yourself, but it's terrifying how many moves you can straight up just ignore while you're crouching. And here's the cool part. While you're in your crouch, you have access to all of your tilts, meaning that when you do low profile something, you can hard punish. You can straight up just bait out aerial approaches, jabs, dash attacks, or whatever without actually having to commit to using your shield, and you can combo or kill them for trying. Again, you can and should be putting up a proverbial light show of explosions, but primarily you want to make sure you're not getting hit. Low profiling not only keeps you safe, but it can even tilt an opponent that's not ready. And also, it's kind of funny. So drop it down and start alerting those guards. Step 3, be creative. While he may not be the #1 character in the game, there's a solid amount of players using him at a high and top level play. There's MVD, Ally, Salem, J-West, Yeti, Shogun, Scat, honestly the list goes on. But when you study their sets, they all have their own crazy ideas and you can pull from all of them. Of course the character shines when you're playing it with your own flair, but you should always be on the lookout for new setups. Feels like every time I go to study their VODs, I see something really cool and I'm motivated to go try it out in the lab. Tip 4, and this of course should be obvious, but go to the lab. Of course it's universal for everyone, but it's a little bit more pertinent for Snake. You're going to spend a lot of time landing random hits with explosions, but you're also going to want to practice where your opponent is going to be post-explosion. Like if you have something seemingly innocuous like a deactivated Nikita, a grenade, an up smash, or whatever, you have to be ready to either force them to connect or react when they inevitably do connect. So really familiarize yourself with where the explosion sends your opponent. Because if you're on the ball, you can tack on an extra bair, nair, up tilt, or up air, and you can take stocks way sooner than expected. They of course can DI when they react to these explosions, but they're typically going to be caught off guard. With like a grenade or a C4 for example, they're mostly going to go vertical, so be ready to cover that space if you can. Now I know this sounds goofy, but Snake's advantage state is kind of lackluster. So much so that the best version of your advantage state is just you having a powerful neutral. That aside, you do still have access to some combos to help rack up the damage, but this shouldn't necessarily be the focus of what you're trying to achieve. Some quick examples would be up tilt to up tilt from 0%, up throw to up tilt from 0 to 15%, up throw to up air from around 15 to 50%, a full nair into dash attack goes anywhere from around 10 to 40%, and nair 1 nearly always leads into up tilt and also sets up for a grab. Anyway, being the god of all confusing projectiles means one thing for sure, you're going to have your opponent trapped in shield pretty often. This is good for a ton of reasons. A couple of Snake's moves are so positive on shield that you get free grabs. An up smash is an impressive +6 on shield, giving you plenty of time to get a free grab or even add on more shield damage with jabs and tilts. If you can get someone to shield an up smash, or if you're extra lucky, 2 of them, Up tilt has a strong shot at just breaking their shield outright. Also, if they're shielding above you, you're in a really good position to stick them. As soon as you stick your opponent with C4, the momentum shifts in your favor. Much like fighting a Game & Watch with a bucket or a maxed out Incineroar, they have to completely focus to play around C4. They might transfer it back to you, but that's also really good for you. When they're stuck, if you land a grab, back throw and a detonation is a true combo at any percent. So even with their best case scenario, they're giving you a kill throw way earlier than you would normally have one. Additionally, C4 is a terrifying +9 on shield. The downside is, of course, that it takes 19 frames to detonate a C4, and you have to space yourself pretty carefully to take advantage. But if they're near it and you're within range, definitely take advantage of that free pressure. Next up, Dare. This move honestly has a purpose in every single section of this video. Snake's Dare comes out frame 3, or frame 6 if you're doing it out of shield, so it's a great way to steal a turn from your enemy. If you land one from low percents like 10 to 30%, you can get a jab lock. Snake has a ton of options from jab lock, but my favorite is that you can actually land jab 1 and 2 and get a free C4 before they can choose a get up option. You can also cancel jab 1 into up smash if you just want the raw damage. So you can switch from being pressured in your shield to a high damage situation with a free sticky. Although footsies shouldn't be your main game plan, Snake's up close tools are also pretty solid. Jab 1, for example, is only 3 frames, while F tilt 1 is frame 4. What's really neat is that if you're conditioning your opponent, you can still cancel your jab into a C4, much like you can from a jab lock. C4 up close goes through shields like a command grab, so it's a great mix-up to keep in your pocket. You also have a pretty big window in between F tilt 1 and F tilt 2, and you can choose to delay the second hit as a mix-up, or you can do the first one and just escape afterward. Throws. Every throw serves a purpose since you have access to way more stage presence than most of the cast. At low percents, you can go for a back or forward throw and chase them down with a dash attack. With back throw, you can also chase them down for a jab lock if they're not ready to tech. If you're lucky enough to grab them at the ledge, back throw has so little lag that you can set up for a 50-50 situation with forward air. You can get one whether they jump or don't jump. You just have to guess which option they're going to go for. They can still air dodge, of course, but it's so laggy it still puts them in a really awful position. One really cool thing that you can do to secure easy damage / kills is if your opponent is holding a grenade. If you notice they pick one up, do a quick pummel and use either back or forward throw. Once the grenade explodes, they're sent vertically where you can easily capitalize with the fair. This kills super early, by the way. Or if they're at higher percents, pummel a bit and then throw them up and the explosion might just kill them off the top. Either way, if you ever see the situation, try and optimize it as hard as you possibly can. Your most important throw, however, is going to be your down throw. It forces a tech chase situation, and if you're good at conditioning / reading, or even just guessing, you get follow-ups every time you guess right. The default animation has you laying them on the ground, but if they're grabbed on a ledge or at the edge of a platform, you get something interesting. Similar to how it worked in Brawl, after the throw, your opponent is just kind of left mid-air. Your fastest punish options then are either up tilt or D smash. If they're at high percents, go for up tilt, but if they're at mid percents, especially if you're at the ledge rather than the platform, go for down smash. Up tilt is a 6 frame move while D smash comes out frame 8, so it's definitely a gamble, but your chances at this follow-up are pretty good either way. You could also go for a jab, but it won't necessarily kill. Your opponent is able to move immediately, but their options for not getting hit are poor. They can mash air dodge, but then you just watch them air dodge off stage, or they can mash an attack, but you'll have a pretty decent shot at just trading with the attack itself. Either way, these options only occur if they know that this weird situation is coming. So this is great for catching somebody off guard, but the situation changes once they've been hit by it a few times. But even better than that, you get guaranteed combos at certain percent windows. At 160, you universally can kill with up tilt. At 143 and occasionally 121%, you can get a guaranteed F tilt, and at 110% on certain characters, you even get free jabs. Now all of this is different on each character, most likely based on their weight and their hurt boxes. So I'm going to attach a link at the bottom to a detailed spreadsheet by the Snake Discord with all of that information, and even the data for when up tilt kills. Absolutely worth keeping this info handy. Other than this, you're just going to want to focus on trapping your opponent and making them panic. Truth be told, Snake is a million times better when someone is respecting him, but if they just spaz out on you, it can be really hard to get the pace of the match back under control. This, of course, is the perfect segue into disadvantage. Yay. Being in disadvantage sucks as Snake. It's universally hard on most of the cast, except for, like, you know, Shulk. So you're gonna have to work extra hard on your neutral so you don't get steamrolled in the first place. But eventually it's going to happen, so let's work on minimizing the damage as much as we can. So as we touched on earlier, you can low profile a lot of different moves, virtually any aerial that doesn't have a landing hitbox and tons of projectiles as well. so you have to stay ready to react with crouch as well as your shield. When you are being comboed, of course you have grenade. While typically this is a solid way to escape a long string, especially since it's active on frame 1, if you're not careful you might honestly make things worse. There are situations where your opponent can bait you into pulling it, or you might be unlucky and pull it only at the end of their string and just give them extra damage. A big problem is definitely doing this while you're trying to land. Let's say you get knocked up moderately high from an attack and you're out of hit stun and you want to weigh down. Well, pulling grenade isn't always the best option. Sometimes you get caught in the lag of pulling and then subsequently tossing the grenade, but you're a sitting duck in between. You want to get really crafty about this. If you're like coming down from Cypher, you have the option to mix up your landing to B reverse C4 and also B reverse grenade. If you're fast, you can do them back to back, but be careful because after 2 of them, you'll be in a pretty similar spot to where you initially started. Additionally, you still got your air dodges and you've got dare. I said air dodges because even though we spend a lot of time habitually using directional air dodge, never forget that a regular air dodge is way less laggy. You do get a good drift from directional air dodges, but you want to make your landings as confusing as possible, so mix this into it. Also, if you're holding a grenade, you can use your invul from air dodges to protect you from the explosion while also hitting your enemy. Sadly, this doesn't work unless it's been dropped and caught, and you can't cancel it out of his weird 1950s baseball animation thing. As for down air, this move, by the way, is his Swiss Army knife. You can use it with your double jump to give you a considerable amount of extra distance both vertically and horizontally. And as it's been said, it's a fantastic out of shield option too. You can also use the float from your dare to get yourself from the ledge. You can dare float not once but twice from the ledge, and you can really cover a ton of distance. Not only does it put you at a strange angle to punish, but if they read it and jump, the hitbox from the attack might still connect. Between all 4 hits, you've got a solid shot at stuffing out their options. Plus, you can still go for B reverse / air dodge mix-ups once the move finishes. If you're feeling super creative, you can use Nikita on your way down too. This is kind of a goofy option, but you'd really be surprised at what you can come up with when you have to save yourself. Conditioning with C4 is another good option. If you already have it planted, most likely you can land on it because your opponent won't want to take the risk of being hit. If it's not planted, make it clear that you can drop it from above and detonate it really quickly. Again, be aware though that it takes 19 frames to actually blow it up, and if your opponent is privy, you might get called out and hit before the explosion is activated. Getting back down with neutral air might bail you out too. It's got 4 hitboxes and auto cancels really well when you land. If you get a nair 1, you can mash out an up tilt or also a grab. This is of course ideal when they're directly below you because if they come at you from the sides, they can easily outspace it. These are some of your best bets for getting out of bad situations, but none of them are that spectacular. So be very cautious when you're picking your shots because overcommitting can be a death sentence for Snake. Let's talk about ledge trapping. Snake is super dumb at the ledge. I genuinely don't think there is anyone better in the game than Snake when it comes to ledge trapping. So let's get into some tips. Grenade might not always be your friend. Placing grenades in dangerous spots is a solid choice, but if your opponent has patience, you might actually end up giving up stage control. The problem is that the grenades are on a timer, meaning that after 2.5 seconds you can't be there. If you have a grenade planted somewhere, it's generally the only trap you have set for that exact position on the stage, meaning that once it's gone, unless you have a backup plan to cover, you're giving them an out since you can't do much physically in that area. At least not for a moment. Ideally focus on your other tools like C4, Nikita, and up smash. This isn't to say the grenade is inherently bad, but it might be your weakest choice. Up smash, as I'm sure we've all seen, is completely insane. It covers jumps and can drift past the ledge itself. You can charge it so that the height and fall speed vary, and honestly you're free to move once it's released, so it's great for conditioning and baits. C4 has endless versatility when it comes to this, but here's something I don't think I see a lot of people doing. If you're on point with your spacing, you can plant it so that it catches both get up attack and roll. If you have it in the center between the ledge and roll distance, you can honestly just react and get free damage. You can also react to and punish neutral get up, but it's kinda hard. If you're late on your timing, they'll shield it. But even if they shield it, they're still -9, so they don't get to profit that hard. There's cooler places to put it like on platforms or at roll distance or even sticking it to the walls themselves, but this option covers basically everything but jump, which you're able to just cover outright freely. Also, you can jump and drop one down to catch people before they snap to the ledge and you can get a 2-frame. If you want to go for an outright edge guard, both back air and neutral air come in handy. Nair especially because you can go really far forward or really far downward to kill with it. And don't be afraid of F smash either. Yes, it is a commitment, but if you go back to just about roll distance, the massive hitbox lets you cover all of the options from the ledge almost at once. And then there's Nikita. Nikita, even after the nerf, might be the best move in the game. It edge guards and ledge traps simultaneously. It chases people down from pretty much anywhere on the screen. You can cancel it just by hitting shield and punish if they approach you. Aiming it up and just letting it drop also frees you up to cover their reactions. Like, this move literally does everything. The only advice is to make sure you're doing it from a position where you won't get punished if you're wrong. And that about wraps this up. Final summary, crouch more, down air more, and definitely be creative. Hopefully this is helpful for learning the character, or if you feel yourself starting to plateau, there's something new for you in this video. Remember to research as many different players as you can because there's always something cool you might not have considered. If you enjoyed this video, or even if you completely hate it, just give us a thumb, leave a comment, and subscribe. As always, we got a Patreon with tier rewards, including a patrons-only Pushblock Discord. Thanks to our patrons for helping us out in this journey so far, and we'll be back with more content as soon as we can. Peace!